Hey guys, welcome back to the Social Distance Podcast. Another week, another Tuesday. This episode we run through the Belgian classics. We talk about, how's Pogman going to go? We're a bit behind, but is Pogacar going to win Flanders or not? Van Aert, the Jumbo show up there. George runs us through Catalunya. Tour of Basque Country next week. We talk about logos. We're developing a new logo for the show. We've got plenty of ideas for that. Jonesy tells a couple of... Jonesy lights his fart.
Just known for Jonesy lights a fart. That's where we're at. I talked about the Oscars. Everyone loves a good Biffo story, so we're just piggyback.
Got bogged down in celebrities for a while.
We spend about the first 5 minutes of the show talking about nuts and not balls, not testicles. We talk about the food nuts. What's your best nut? What's a good driving nut? Cocktail nuts at the bar.
It's a stock standard episode. You tune in for dribble. That's what we deliver. Because when we have to work out what we talked about, we can't remember because it's dribble.
Yeah.
So
the reality is, the show is loosely based around cycling, but you guys all know that every now and again we get bogged down in some real
absolute shit.
Yeah.
Enjoy
the show.
Why wouldn't you be excited after that intro? Why wouldn't you?
Let's do it. Share, subscribe.
Let's just run the intro and wing it like we always do and see what comes out of it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Front kick.
Just getting bored and dance move chat.
My radar's going pretty hard at the moment. I think we should.
Will you shut up, man?
That escalated quickly.
We're going to need to get some more qualified guests on the show, eh?
You got anything to talk about, guys?
Don't we have a guest today?
Who's the guest?
Do we?
Well, I don't know. Last week we were going to have a guest, and you're like, nah, she's coming next week.
Oh, yeah, but the issue with that is that we organised this show literally 15 minutes ago. So
hang on. You guys put a fair bit of shit on me last week, but I want to reverse the roles a bit. Okay. We know on this show we've promised merch for 18 months, right? And it all comes down to a logo. So I thought you were doing the logo bills, and then he came back to me and he said, mate, where's the logo at? So I organised the logo. I sent the logo, and then you go, nah, I'll get Caitlin to do it. Why the fuck didn't you get Caitlin to do it from the start? Now we don't have a logo. We don't have fucking merch. And you're sitting back going, you can't even organise a fucking guest.
Oh, so Caitlin thinks I'm doing the logo.
Well, who's doing the logo? We need the merch. Like,
Shall I ask the neighbour if he can? Shall I go knock on my Spanish neighbour's door and ask him if he can make a logo?
Well, I can guarantee by the next show we will have merch because I'm going to kick someone up the ass to get this logo, and we're going to have merch. So that's it.
We've got logos. We've got logos. I just don't like any of them.
Oh yeah, they're just shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a bunch of shit logos.
I mean, one of them was like a swastika. I don't think that was very on brand.
No.
Oh, yeah, true. I didn't even realise that. It is, eh?
So
can't run
we
that.
should probably re-reel that one a little bit. Just get something a bit more on brand, cycling related, less Nazi related.
Yeah. It's not a good look.
We're pretty close, though. We're pretty close. We've got a couple now. Like that. We're pretty close. We'll have one by tomorrow, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have merch. Definitely next step, guys. 100%. You have my word. We will have merch.
Can't wait. What have you guys been up to? What do you have?
We'll have a logo. We might not have merch for the next step, but we'll have a logo for the next step.
We'll have merch. I know people that are ready to go.
That's how we operate these days.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. What's been going on? You guys been racing? Did you avoid the plague at the Catalunya? Because half the Palo got wiped out with bugs, George.
Well, I don't know. I've had this weird thing where I went from being quite good in the race, like early on. We had a couple of mountain stages and they went really well. Went probably better than I've gone on a mountain stage for a long time, had to pull off a pretty rogue tactic, attack at the bottom of the last climb. Fucking got caught, 3K to go, sort of hung on, but ultimately I was a bit pinned. But, it was a good ride, good best power I've done and shit like this for a long time, altitude and all that stuff. So I was like, I'm going really well. And then, we had a long day the next day. And then the day after was this uphill start, and I just got hooped. Like, went from the front to the back, went all in to try to follow this move, and I had like 16 rain jackets on because I was compensating for the cold. Because I was like, oh, you know, the only thing that can undo me now is cold weather. So I had like 30 rain jackets on, and I was going up there like the Michelin man, you know, trying to go up the start of this hill, and I just got hooped, man, and like dropped by, I don't know, a group of like 80 guys or something, and like there were still sprinters there, Caden Groves, everything, and I was like, oh, this is pretty weird. And I was thinking, nah, it's just, I'm getting sick. Like any minute now, I'm going to break. Because we'd had one guy with a stomach bug out, and I was like, yeah. And I had like this big headache. I was like, oh, it's not coming right. Like I'm going to start spewing any minute now, you know. And the next days, I'm going to get like fever and stuff. And it just never came. And then all my other teammates, like everyone around me now, got home, like people were just been crook as. But
it's a never-ending cycle, eh? It's a never-ending cycle. Like we've finally come out. Well, I mean, we've come out of the pandemic in a sense that the world's starting to go back to normal. But now, like, everyone's just getting sick with everything else. Like, no one's got COVID because everyone's had it. And now the whole, like, this will be the first year in quite a few years where the peloton's been hit so hard by sickness, eh? Like,
I've never seen it like this.
Decimated.
I've never seen it. It's like
Paris-Nice, there was 55 finishes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
there was 55 finishes. Yeah. 55 finished Paris-Nice.
And do you know what was interesting? Is like there was, so you know how Torino and Paris-Nice run at the same time? There was like the stomach bug out in Torino, so everyone was dropping out of there with the stomach bug. And then in Paris-Nice, everyone had bronchitis, everyone was dropping out of there. And then you come to like Catalunya, and there's still like just enough crossover that like one guy got sick on the last day of Paris-Nice, so he's still kind of contagious at Catalunya. And then he just fucking goes again. And then you got this mixture because you got guys from Torino and from Paris-Nice. And so in Catalunya, you just got guys with stomach bugs and bronchitis. So they're just going around coughing and shitting themselves. And you just like, well, give me COVID, you know, like. Yeah, I've never seen it like this.
No, and like, because Catalunya was the same, eh? There was like 50 dropouts in Catalunya. There was only 120 finishes in Catalunya or something. It's bizarre. It's crazy. It's nuts.
How was Belgium? Was that pretty spewy and
again?
Or was that all right?
Sick people there as well. Like, I mean, one-day races. So, people drop out all the time anyway. But there's heaps of sickness around. Like Bora's running. I think I read an article the other day that Bora's got 11 healthy guys, 19 down, 19 out.
That's thin on the ground, eh? Do you reckon though? Like this is a theory that's been bandied about, and I got no idea if it's actual science. But like, you know how we're sort of isolated for so long. Whatever, socially distanced, everything, that we lost a bit of immunity to like common bugs that we maybe would have, you know, like we would have maybe sort of, they would have done the rounds, we would have had a little bit of exposure or whatever, and we had no exposure for 2 years. Now we're just vulnerable to everything. But I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine that would happen so quickly. Like, isn't that something that you build up over years?
I think those bugs just went into hibernation, eh? Like, because the whole... Because we actually lived like the general population is a bunch of dirty bastards at the end of the day. And like it took a pandemic to teach people that washing your hands is healthy. And
wasn't there a stat on beer nuts? Like the traces of urine and just shit in the standard beer nuts at a bar?
Oh, I can imagine, eh?
Oh, it was off the charts. But I still eat them. It's great.
Same.
That lemon zest. Yeah.
You can't not eat them. Like, I challenge anyone out there to, like, if you order a beer at a bar and the bartender puts a little bowl of nuts next to you, if you don't at least have one nut, you're a psychopath, though. Like,
that's it.
And once you have one, then you have the whole bowl. Like, I challenge anyone out there not to eat the cocktail nuts.
But you do all that shit out of boredom as well. Like, yesterday I was driving to Pamplona and back, and we, you know, like I did the classic gas station, like fuel up, you know, popcorn, pistachios, everything, you know, just because I'm like, you're not even hungry, you're just fucking bored. And I like pistachios because you got to work for them. You've got to like, it's like
you're gonna get at least half an hour out of a pack.
Yeah.
It's a real safe driving. It's a real safe driving nut, eh? Like, why you're driving, trying to. You're like got your knees on the steering wheel and you're trying to open this pistachio. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, maybe you should say cashews are a solid driving nut. That's safe and nut. With pistachios, you're really running hot.
It's a risky nut.
So big news week for us,
nut.
boys.
Thanks for tuning in.
How was Belgium? How did the races go?
Oh, I only did Ghent Wevelgem, so I was up there for a little bit. It's like standard classics period, like where you always have a group of guys, and we were actually quite like previously in Greenwich. We've always been quite thin on the ground with the classics group, so you might only have one race on your schedule or something, because obviously there's a whole it's about a 3-week period. Well, if you go into the Ardennes, it's a bloody 5-week period, but the Flemish classics alone is a 2 or 3 week period. There's like five 1-day races there every couple of days, obviously. And previously, you go up there, you might have one race on your program and you end up doing all of them in our team, because you go there, 7 starters, you go out there with 8 guys, someone crashes in the first race or someone gets sick, and then all of a sudden you're on. But we had 9 guys up there and everyone was pretty healthy. So it was a bit of a rotating system. And I just raced Ghent Wevelgem. I was up there for a few days, missed E3, did a recon on that day, raced Ghent Wevelgem, and then I'm back in Girona now, actually. Pissing rain here. It was better in Belgium. It was 20 degrees in sun there. We had a barbecue.
Yeah, but how good was it seeing Gourmet win Ghent Wevelgem? Because obviously riding with Dan Tekla-Hymenot back in the day at Greenwich, mate, cycling in Eritrea, I remember he showed me footage of the nationals that year. There was 1 million people on the side of the road, and then they did the podium. And I remember the crowd were that thick. There was a security guy with a massive bit of bamboo just whacking people to get back. And I'm like, mate, what is this? He goes, yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. They love it.
I heard a rumor about when he won the jersey in the Tour de France, he got given a house in Eritrea. Yeah. A farm with a house and stuff on it for wearing the polka dot jersey.
They did a ticker tape parade for him. Yeah. And he met the president, and it was a massive celebration, and he had the jersey for 3 days. It was unbelievable.
Dion Smith had the jersey for a couple of days, and in New Zealand, I'm pretty sure all he got when he got home was spat at and told to get off the road.
That's right.
And 2 weeks quarantine.
Yeah, 2 weeks quarantine.
It is massive, eh? It is massive in Africa, cycling. And obviously with the world champs going to Rwanda. Is it next year in Rwanda? Or the year after?
So. Year after, maybe.
And it's just huge. And obviously it's a minority sport. I think it's a bit like South America, where the people there just celebrate the success of their own, no matter what field it's in.
Yeah.
They're just so proud that somebody from their country is representing their country in a positive way in whatever field it may be. And I
don't think we do that in New Zealand, eh? I don't feel like we like New Zealanders, and Australians are a bit the same. Australians are maybe more so the pro, but there's this little bit of pull your head in, don't get ahead of yourself.
Oh yeah, big time.
Oh yeah, you're good at your sport, but come on, mate, you're not that good.
You get paid to do it. What do you do for a job?
Yeah. There's a lot of that. But Kiwis are definitely more, and maybe it's a good thing, because maybe it also makes you realize oh yeah, I'm just riding a bike around. I'm not really a hero or something. But I mean, the Colombians are all pretty humble people as well, because I don't know, they're just good people, aren't they?
New Zealand's all about celebrating just the same. When it comes to sport, they just celebrate the same people. They don't celebrate everybody's sporting achievements equally. They just look at it from a fucking marketing point of view. The Halberg Awards is such a crock of shit. The New Zealand Sports Awards. They just give it to the same people, and those people are obviously amazing athletes and successful and Olympic champions and stuff. But if you're a world champion in one sport and you're a world champion in another sport, they don't look at it the same.
Motocross, for example, we've got
exactly.
Our motorsport drivers and our motocross drivers are people when you go to Belgium, because that's where they all live up in Belgium there, and a lot of them are cyclists and stuff as well. They do a lot of training on the bike, and they're talking about how good our new motocross riders are. And we had Ben Townley, and we had Josh Coppins, and we had all these. Now we've got a new guy, got a new couple of IndyCar. We've got a guy that just won IndyCar. And we don't even know who they are. No. I don't even know his name. He's a hero in America. He's one of the biggest sporting stars in America.
Well, the big one that since we did the last show in terms of sport, like Ash Barty, top of the game, 25, retires.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it was sort of mixed. Like people going, well, hang on, why would you do that? Why would you quit at the top of your game? Whereas a lot of people going, well, no, that's great. Like, good on her. Like, if she wants to do that, good on you. And then, like, other people are saying, relating it back to cycling, they're going, look at someone like Chris Froome. They're going, well, he probably should retire, you know. But I look at it like, no, fuck that. If you're on a good contract and you got sort of 3 years, man, I'd milk that cow till it bleeds. Because I'm going to get good paying for 3 years. That's it.
Froome's not dumb at all. He's getting paid, and he's just sitting at the back benches, just lobbing grenades. You know, like with just chucks in a comment, like every now and then about because like he's won the 5. He doesn't need to do anything else. He's won the tour 5 times.
Yeah. No, and then people go, but it's legacy. You know, it's damaging the legacy. I say, fuck that. Don't worry about legacy. If they're paying the bills and those checks are clearing. I don't care.
I've always, but also like continuing in sport, because it's so hard, is like there's actually not enough money in the world that can make somebody continue when they don't want to anymore. Like that's actually how it works. Like but like Ash Barty, she's also like, I'm sure she's not short of a buck, and she could have continued to make good money because she's so good at tennis. Like she's going to continue to win slams, and but she doesn't want to do it anymore. Simple as that. It's actually simple as that. She's like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to.
But I think cycling's particularly hard if you don't want to do it because it's like actually if you boil cycling down, it's like who can hurt themselves the most. It's not like oh, you just got a lot of admin and you just got to get through it. You know, it's not like you just got to go to the nets and hit 100, 1,000 cricket balls a day. But you actually have to like deliver physical pain to yourself. And if you're not like, if you don't have like an intrinsic like, I actually want to do this. Then, like you say, no amount of money is going to make you do it. And you can see when people don't want to hurt themselves anymore. I mean, you see a day like today, it's pissing down with rain. They don't get on the bike.
But on a total rabbit hole, I'm thinking like, how everyone says, you're both Olympians. It's such a big honor to compete in the Olympics. If you're looking for a niche sport to like milk that Olympic experience, it would be equestrian. Like you see equestrian riders still in their 60s. If you get a shit hot horse that's worth like 10 mil, that's going to clear all the ropes and all that sort of stuff, isn't essentially you just got to sit on the back and enjoy the ride? Like I'm sure there's more to it.
Those equestrian guys,
they're a fucking hoax. They're a hoax. That's a harsh call.
I think they love a few nose beers. They're renowned for like just cocaine and champagne and just I heard a story once that New Zealand
they're all wealthy as
they're super loaded. We have a guy Mark Todd and we had Blythe Thwaite, he was the other guy, that they were like Olympic medalists in equestrian. But Mark Todd,
if your name is Mark Todd and Blythe Thwaite, I think you're pretty much going to go into a question. It's pretty much written for you as soon as you were born.
Blythe's a mad dog.
Blythe Thwaite.
I heard a story about Toddy riding
Isn't it Tate? Tate?
Oh, Tate.
I don't know. It's a question written all over.
I heard a story about Toddy riding a horse into an after party at one of the equestrian events, riding in, and then everyone just like doing lines off horses and stuff. Like I think it was like a pretty loose. I think equestrian's like one of those things that you like think is like a pretty civilized sport, and it's just debauchery, like absolute debauchery, like. Horses involved, it just goes to the dogs real quick because they're all millionaires. Like,
they're all super loaded, and they all just it's the circles they walk with. They just like in with these wealthy like, and it's so British. So they're all got like their like manners and.
I think I would try and if I was going to like half-ass in an Olympic sport, like say I was going to change lanes right now. I think you'd go like luging, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, mad dog. Just a mad dog sport. It was all
there must be a bit of skill. There must be a bit of skill based in luge.
In luge
or bobsleigh. Like the bobsled luge, you mean? Like the one person down the ice?
Yeah, you go 2 up though, so the other guy delivers the power.
Yeah, but that's weird. That's weird. The 2 up where he's sitting on top and they sort of come around the pads. It's like, nah, mate, you got it. You have that needs chemistry. That needs a lot of chemistry to pull that off.
There must be skill involved in that because there's heaps of crashes. So like you've got to brake and steer and all that.
You know what I think they
There's
do
gotta
with their feet? I'm pretty sure that's how you luge. With your feet. You go down, but on the double luge, one of those guys isn't doing anything. There's one guy steering, taking the reins. There's one guy.
Weight.
Yeah, exactly. One of them's just got a big motor.
So they run for like 12 meters, and then they just sit there and go down a hill.
If you're good at the 12-meter dash and you've got a bit of junk in the trunk to really sort of lead sinker you down there, you're a start.
You're thinking running like a keel kind of situation.
Yeah. I think you've got to have a real meaty back end to sort of give yourself that lead sinker to smash some times. That's my insights on equestrian and luge.
What is the least physically demanding Olympic sport? I was going to say diving because all they do is like.
Nah, they're athletes.
They're so ripped, eh? Yeah, they're so ripped.
Mate, if they brought in like the horsey championships or ballywhackers for sure, but these guys are ripped.
Yeah,
what is it? Synchronized swimming, is that physically demanding? Probably in some ways, eh?
Yeah, I feel like those sports are low key real hard. I think there's not a lot of Olympic sports for free, but luging is up there.
Yeah, yeah. Now the other big news, boys, obviously not sport related, but the Will Smith, Chris Rock that blew up. Like we were watching that live. We're in the office, and mate had it on the background, and we were just spitballing. We're going, Will Smith is up or whatever. And then when Chris Rock made that joke, and then we heard this commotion, and then we heard like F-bombs dropped. We were like meerkats. Straight away we like stood up, looking around, grabbing the camera, replaying it, and then just watched Twitter light up. And there was like a feed because in America they bleeped it out because it was unscripted. And straight away when something happens like that, they go, "Oh, it'd be set up." Nah, that's set up. And then you break it out and go, who the fuck would set that up as part of their brand? Yeah, I want to be known as the guy that smacked a bloke in the face and then dropped F-bombs live in the crowd. And there was the Japanese feed on Twitter. Like if you
Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
ウィル・スミスにやられました。
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's
G.I. ジェーンのジョークだったんです。
fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
I just like the Japanese translation. G.I.J. no tare desu ka?
I don't speak Japanese, but I'm pretty sure she's like you can.
How do you translate that?
Description.
Yeah, but that
G.I. Jane was a good movie. Yeah.
That was fucking intense. That was intense. And straight away with an incident like that, I go, all right, wait for people to climb in and take ownership. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with social media. Like then you get the comedians going, well, where's this going to stop? Where is this going to stop? Every comedian that says something that's a bit offensive, someone's going to go up and punch the shit out of him. And it's like, well, okay, that's one way of looking at it. Mate, that was fucking unbelievable.
You imagine if every person you've offended on the show could smack you in the face.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
It's funny that like everybody, I saw this quote from Ricky Gervais, and it's so true. I'm a big fan of Ricky Gervais.
Oh, yeah.
I also believe in the fact that you can joke about most things in the right context,
pretty much anything, can you?
Yeah, he said like everybody believes in free speech until they hear something that offends them. And it's so true, eh? Like Will Smith,
and they pick like
he lost control.
Yeah, they pick like their hill to die on. Like there'll be like a mother of there'll be like a mother of an autistic child or something, and they'll laugh at every Nazi joke or every anorexia joke. But as soon as there's a joke about autism, like, but you can't joke about autism.
Yeah,
well,
and that's exactly what happened. Like his wife.
Exactly. Will Smith found every other joke funny.
Yeah. He actually found that joke funny. To be fair, have you seen the?
Yeah.
Have you seen the unpack? He was pissing himself laughing, and then he looked over at his wife, and his wife was like, "No." And then that was when he's like, "Oh, okay." That's not funny.
Yeah.
And that's when he
But the
reacted.
other
when
thing
the joke
is,
was made, he was like,
yeah. So he was like, "Oh, I don't want to own this shit. I don't want to be in the doghouse tonight. I've got to get up and stand up." But the problem is as well that they're saying that, you know, some method actors, they get so into the role they can't get out of it for like years. So they reckon, you know, that was a downfall with Heath Ledger when he played the Joker. It cooked him. Jim Carrey did a thing on Netflix when he played Andy Kaufman, and he couldn't get out of the role and he almost went insane. So he's come off playing, you know, Serena Williams' Old Man and Venus, and it was all about protecting your family. So in that, it's like, you know, he's like couldn't get out of the character. I'm like, fuck off, man. He's been copping shit about his missus sleeping around for a while. And there was like underlying jokes at their expense. And then when he laughed at that joke and he looked across and saw those daggers, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in the shit here. Righto, let's smack him out. Let's go."
There's an interesting
Shift the focus.
Though. Yeah, like that's a real good way to turn a win into a loss. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think Jada was tweeting afterwards like, "That's how we do it," or "That's how we roll." And then it's like, why are you throwing diesel on the petrol fire? Like, just back away, stay silent, let the bloody smoke clear. But fuck. And he had the nice guy character for so long. Like everyone, when you hear Will Smith, they go, "Yeah, no, he's a dude." And then it just all went weird. Like him winning the best actor and then doing his speech. It's like, how are you going to pivot on this shit, mate? Like you fuck.
I think it's strange that we care about these people. Like we care that this is even a thing. Like these are the worst people in the world, right? And like, the only way I was thinking about this because like these are the worst people in the world. Just a big circle jerk celebrating themselves, all this stuff. Like when but the reason people care or the reason people watch it is because they are the worst people in the world. So shit like this happens. Like let's say we took like if there was like. Which should be far more famous as like the World Scientist Competition or, you know, the Nobel Prize, the medical research, the whatever, you know. These should be the most famous people in the world. But like at their events functions, no one's going up and punching another guy for making a joke about his missus. Like, so it's not, so we don't find it interesting. So we only find like the worst people in the world interesting.
It's so funny that the world is so interested in watching someone be celebrated for doing like a movie is like, you go and watch a movie and you like it or you don't like it, and then you go home. So why should we care if that person gets an award for that?
And they get paid a shit ton of money to do it.
It's like making their job something completely different. Like I go to watch a movie and I watch a movie and I like it or I don't like it, and I go home and I move on with my life. But then like we all sit down and go, "Oh, I wonder if he's going to win an award for that movie." It's like it's so weird. It's just pageantry, pageantry or whatever that fucking word is.
But now
like,
we're talking about it. We got a cycling podcast talking about it.
Yeah, we should be talking about cycling, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if you went up to sign on. It is interesting.
Well, let's throw it out there.
It's good.
Sometimes
imagine if you went up
say,
to like
fuck cycling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gets sick of it. I want to talk about the biffo.
Imagine if you walked up to sign on at a race and just smacked some guy out from another team.
Well, I just in the bus. What was the race when? Oh man, I can't think who it was, but they went outside the other guy's bus. I think it was outside the Quickstep bus, and they were just screaming and like, "Get out here!" And the guy wouldn't come out of the bus, so he just walked on the bus, and no one knows what happened.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was that was Froomey. That was Froomey after an incident with Tony Martin. Remember, there was something on a climb. We were at that race, and then he literally went up to the bus and he stormed into the bus.
Oh, there was that was a different one. That was with Luke Rowe and Tony Martin maybe, and they both got kicked out of the race.
Yeah, I reckon there was another one when he went straight on the bus. It was Froomey. I reckon Froomey went into the bus when he was at Sky, and like
and
literally
I just remember the cameras were there, and then someone walked into a bus, and they're just like,
it's like, yeah. And
I love how. Do you know what I love about the show is that we like talk about like deflammatory things, and we don't know exactly who that person was, but we name all the people we think it could be, and we try to dissect it, and then we publicly post it.
This show is for satirical reasons, of satirical purposes. Any likenesses or links to actual names is for comedic purposes only, and it should not be taken seriously. There's a disclaimer.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
But last link, off topic, is when we were talking about movies, it made me think about, like, how at start of movies like Jackass, they say these stunts are performed by professionals and should not be replicated at home. And when they do stuff in movies, they go, nah, got to be careful because other kids will follow that. Reminded me of a story in 1994 when I saw Dumb and Dumber for the first time, one of the best comedies of all time. And anyone says it's not, you're full of shit. It's a classic. And I remember that scene when Jim Carrey cocked his legs and like lit the fart and it like engulfed in flames. And I had this argument at school the next day, like, oh, how good was that? That fart scene. I love fart gags. And my dad would always go, what do you find that shit funny? Like fart gags. It's not even funny. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm chemically programmed to like fart gags. That's it. And so I remember my mates were saying, yeah, but that's all Hollywood. That doesn't work like that. And then another guy piped up and said, no, I've tried it. Like you can light up farts. I'm thinking, well, there's only one way to sort this out. I'm going to try it. And so I remember 2 days later, house had cleared. I had to get ready for school. I was running a bit late, come out of the shower red hot, and I had like a mirror. It was about 10 meters away from my bed. I thought, well, I'm going to try it, but I'm going to watch myself as I do it. I don't know why. I thought I just want to see all of this. I had a real pressurized one ready to go, cocked the legs, starkers, and lit it. And I shit you not, this blue flame went out like about 10 meters and burnt a singe hole in the mirror. But I didn't bank on the recoil. So then it went straight back up the coit and burnt my rectum at 1,000 degrees. And I just remember there's no one in the house and I've let out like that and was just rolling around. I broke out in tears. I thought I've got like 3rd-degree burns. I'm like slapping ointment on there just to get through. Rode to school like just absolutely singed. And I remember just getting to school just traumatized. And then I remember eventually mustering up the courage to say to the guys, yeah, I tried that scene out of Dumb and Dumber. It definitely works. You can light your
You
farts.
show them your burnt ring hole as evidence?
You don't do it starkers. If you're going to do that shit, have like the bunghole filter, like do it through jocks because you got to protect the recoil. If you go starkers fully leg cocked, it'll shoot straight back up. It was bad. About 2 3 days.
Sounds like a pretty traumatic story. Speaking of off-topic stories, my mum actually told me a pretty traumatic story the other day about this is we're just going down a wormhole here because there's just no cycling on. Well, there's heaps of cycling on, but
There's so much cycling on.
There's Flanders coming up.
Yeah, there's so much cycling on, but I'm just.
We'll get back to Belgium. We'll get back to Belgium in a minute.
Yeah, we will get back to it, but I'll just tell the story while I remember it. My mum told me about this guy she'd just been talking to. He'd been driving down from Nelson to like Murchison, and he's driving through the I think through like Lewis Pass. I can't remember what it was, but a cat ran out in front of him, and he hits the brakes as he's driving through this sort of town, and he hits the brakes, and it's like fuck, and sort of thinks he runs over this cat. So he gets out and he's like, oh, shit, looking around, but he can't see the cat anywhere. And he's like, oh, I've just hit this cat. But then he looks over and he sees this, like, it's right outside a person's house in their driveway. I think he's pulling into their driveway even. So he goes up to the house to, like, say, like, look, I think I've run over your cat. I'm sorry. And he sees this, like, old cat just, like, pretty much dead on the porch, and he's like, oh, I feel really bad about this. Like, this obviously the cat will run over, real manky. So he knocks on the door, no one's home. And he sees this cat. And he's like, this cat sort of looks pretty dead. He's like, oh, I better be careful, put it out its misery, So he goes and gets his hunting rifle, shoots this cat, goes back in the car because he's like, I just had to put it out of its misery, Anyway, buries it, puts a note like, sorry, I hit your cat. Drives all the way down, gets to where he's going, gets out of his car, goes into his house, looks around the back of his car and sees that the cat that he thought he'd run over. The cat that he'd run over was actually hanging out the back of his car, and he had just shot someone's random cat. Someone's cat was just asleep.
Meanwhile, in New Zealand,
That's so bad. Anyway.
So, cross country next week. Can't wait.
Right. Put an ad break in there.
Yeah, I've just got cycling fatigue today. You know, where you just like you just done a hard race, and I'm staring down the barrel of another hard one, and I'm just going, "Fuck."
That's a fucking great story, that cat one.
Yeah. Getting back to Belgium, like it's obviously Gent-Wevelgem was massive on Sunday. Historical moment for cycling. Gamay winning. He's not doing Flanders. We're ahead of time again. Time this comes out, Flanders would have been on, but he's not doing Flanders, so he's not going to win Flanders. But it's at the moment, it's effectively still the jumbo show in Belgium. Like Laporte and Van Aert took the absolute piss in E3. Took the absolute piss. There's been 3 different winners. There's been De Panne, which Merlier won. There's been E3, which Wout Van Aert won, and there's been Gent-Wevelgem, which Gamay won. So it's not necessarily the jumbo show on the result sheet, but it is the jumbo show. That's so strong.
And they just smash in the race.
Mate,
is De Panne what used to be Dries Dag De Panne?
Yeah, it's just a one-day race.
Just a one-day race now.
I did 60k De Panne once. When it was my first race, and I ended up in hospital with no teeth and 15 stitches in my face, and they were going to have to do plastic surgery. And I've still got to
Why did they send you to Belgium? Why did they send you to Belgium?
It was just a shit show that was Radio Shack back in the day, and they were running this old school line of like, you know, I had a knee injury, and I had been injured before as I was turning pro, you know, and I'd just been injured, and I didn't start racing until my first race was like late March or mid March. It must have been in Corsica, and I'd done a good race, and they're like, oh, like shit, this guy, you know, good start. Like let's send him to Belgium just to get his skills up, you know, like because I was pretty new to road cycling at that stage. Like I'd been mountain biking, I'll be good for him, like learn a race and stuff. So they'd send me to Dries Dag De Panne, and after about 50k, we come into this full gas fight for a cobble section, like massive fight, and it was my second ever pro race. And I was 58 kilos, like coming to the section. And I just get absolutely murdered, land face first on the cobbles, wake up in the hospital, and I'm just like, my lip was just detached through there, and I just had stitches here, and my teeth were all fucked, like broken the front off. And then like I got home, and they're like, oh yeah, hindsight, maybe that wasn't a good move. I was like, fucking no shit.
No shit.
Like there's no doubt, like for the listeners out there, that Belgium is the most hectic racing you can do. Like there's some obviously in every race there's some really sketchy moments, like descents or bunch sprints can be pretty scary at times as well. But Belgium, from like start to finish for 250k, it's just so dicey. And like it's funny that like we like that it's the culture up there. Like the roads are small, sketchy, there's road furniture, but like there's never even any complaints because we just embrace it. That's what Belgium is, you know? And it's like, it's what's so good to watch. And it is like Gent-Wevelgem was probably the easiest Gent-Wevelgem in recent years, I'd say, because there was no wind. And like, but the section in Gent-Wevelgem that we do in De Panne as well, it's called De Moeren. And it's like it's just all it is this expanse of open fields, Flanders fields, where they had all the battles and stuff and the wars. And it's just for as long as you can see, dead flat and not a single tree there. And it's a small road and it runs next to a canal and it's just renowned. Like you hear the word Moeren and everybody gets nervous, you know?
So it's not even cobbles or anything. It's just
a road.
Has it got the shitty death ridge in the middle of the road?
Nah, it's all right. It hasn't got the death crack. In Belgium, there's this big thing they call the death crack. So there's like the concrete roads, and in the middle of the road, instead of a white line, they just put like a 6-inch deep crack and 6-inch wide crack.
About the size of a front cycle wheel.
Yeah, you put your front wheel on that.
Every time you cross lanes, you have the chance of just planting your front wheel in there and just launching over the front of your handlebars.
It's the only racing in the world where you watch everybody in the middle of the bunch is just hop jumping. You spend 250k just bunny hopping in the middle of the bunch.
I did have
that's why there's crashes.
with Hayden Ralston once though in 2000, and it just rained every day. and he just developed this intense phobia of the white lines because we had these real shit tires, and we would just every time we'd cross lanes, we'd have to jump because we wouldn't dare touch a white line with our tires because we'd just crash.
Well, then what do they call form fuckers then? Are they the cat's eyes?
Form fuckers
Nah,
are the
they're
poles.
just big poles. Yeah.
Big poles.
Okay.
So like
Right.
because in Belgium they've got like, you know, this massive network of bike lanes. Every single road in Belgium has a bike lane on it, you know, which is awesome. It's awesome for I mean, they're built for the general public, for commuters, for people to ride bikes, and that's why thousands and thousands of people ride bikes in Belgium and Holland, is because they can go anywhere on a main road and they've got their own little piece of road, you know. But they separate this bike path from the road with these things we call form fuckers, because if you hit one, your form is fucked.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And
God, I still
so
have
we're
visions
racing.
of.
So you're
I've got
racing, like, and you're
visions
trying
still
to.
of Peter Stettner hitting one of these things in Pace Basque, one of these metal poles.
Oh yeah, that was shocking. That was 2014 or something on it.
15 maybe, and
Yeah.
man, it was the worst. It nearly ended his career. In fact, it took him a year to come back from that. Just shattered knees, everything. Oh.
This is what the Moeren does to people. So there's no wind in Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday, like a little bit, but not enough. But the Moeren hasn't been in Gent-Wevelgem for a few years, so it was back in. And whenever you race across that section of road, it genuinely splits because it's normally windy there. It's close to the coast, it's open field. On Sunday, there's no wind, but still, as we're approaching it, the whole bunch gets nervous, like, oh, it's going to go into pieces on the Moeren. It's not. There's no wind. And as we approach it, it's a big road as you approach it, and the bunch is going 70 km an hour, and it's like fucking everyone's fighting for position, trying to get into the Moeren at the front of the bunch. And I was like sort of like midway back, and Heyman said on the radio, oh, guys, remember when you come out of this roundabout, be very careful. On the right-hand side, there's a bunch of form fuckers. There's about 4 or 5 form fuckers in the line as you come out of the roundabout, because it goes into this bike path. So just don't go on the right-hand side out of this roundabout. Be careful. And then, but it's the Moeren. And like, I was like, I need better position. So I literally heard that on the radio and just went hard right out of the roundabout. Me and Greg going arm up. And as soon as I came out of the roundabout, I was like, fuck, form fucker. Me and Van Avermaet were just locked up. He went like one way through it. I went the other way through it. We're both like, holy shit. He's like, oh man, that was close. I was like, I literally just got told that, like probably a minute ago, that
Do you think that in
go
his
on the
radio,
right-hand side.
They were saying in Flemish, like, the Vormnuken.
Vormnuken.
Oh no, he would have a French one. Le verkeer.
But it's this amazing mindset. It's this amazing mindset that we have. That like,
merde fuck here.
Even though I know that it's there, I'm still trying. I need to get better. I need to move up 5 spots for the Moeren, even though there's no wind, even though it's not going to split. And I literally just missed the swarm fucker. And then we turned into the Moeren, and we all stopped.
Perfect example of us being our own worst enemies. Like, I actually had a real long chat to Mick Rogers actually the other night about safety. He's now head of UCI, but like a lot of it is he's also talking like, one of the things he mentions, like, cyclists do actually have to take a bit of responsibility, because like a good example for us was Catalunya stage 2. Like they were like, okay, open final all around here, and you're going up into Perpignan, real open, and there's like a little bit of wind, but definitely not enough wind for like cross it, for like echelons. And like, but everyone's like, fuck, it's going to be windy, we've got to be at the front, everyone's pushing, every director's pushing every rider, and the road's only like 10 riders wide. So what happens is we get to the finish, and I'm in a small group of like 30 guys left in the front, but there was not enough wind to make crosswinds. It was just, there was so much stress that everyone just kept crashing, and every time there was a crash, it would split the group in half, and then everyone was riding so far. So like, if we just known, like, there wasn't enough wind for crosswinds that day, there's no way that you should get dropped in crosswinds like that. But just the fact that we thought that we put enough stress, that we rode so stressed out, and that we rode like a millimeter off everyone's wheel, that there was just crashes, like Yatesy crashed. And then there was like all these, and then it was just like in groups, absolutely in pieces, just because we actually did that. But like, the problem is, it's not like you can just go. It's like when you try and neutralize a race. Do you remember that race in the Tour de France that year? They're like, right, we're going to neutralize the stage. And I think there was one guy off solo winning, and then they were like, we're going to neutralize for second. And then Maxime Bouet did like the bike throw and got second on the line. And do you remember that? So there was
No.
all these crashes. They neutralized the stage except for the guy who was away solid. He won the race. Then they were all going to ride it in together. As a group for second, they'd stop racing. But like as you got close to the finish, everyone was like, "Well, hold on a minute. If we cross the line second, there's a Tour de France stage podium up for grabs." So everyone just edged closer, and then like 50 meters to go, there was just an all-out sprint. So like you can't control a group of cyclists, and it's like you can't say to everybody, "Hey guys, there's not enough wind to break it. Let's all just ride to abreast to the finish," because so you have to act like a dickhead. Because if you don't, you're the guy in the last group.
Yeah, that's like when that crash happened in Ghent-Wevelgem on Sunday. There's a big crash, and like it wasn't a bad crash. There was just a small road, and a couple of guys went down and split the bunch in half. And for a period of the race, there's like 60 guys in the front group, and it was exactly the same thing. Like we're coming down this massive big road. There was still 100k to go in the race, with 30k or 20k from the Kemmelberg first time, but all of a sudden it's like there's a little bit of wind, and we're turning right onto a small road, and maybe it's going to split there. It's not going to split there. And we're on the small road for 3K, and then we're back onto a big road into a headwind. But still, it's exactly like you say. The directors are saying, guys, remember, this is that bit we identified. This is that bit of road we identified. This is the dangerous bit we identified, blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff. So every single team's getting the same information in the earpiece going, you need to be in the front, you need to be in the front. So all of a sudden, the same thing happens. Massive, massive rush, turn right into the small road. There's no wind, of course, but there's so much stress. There's a crash. It's
and therefore, if you're not at the front and you know that like it's not going to break because of the wind, but you know it's going to break because of the stress, but like it's this crazy cycle that feeds itself. It's like self-perpetuating because then even though it didn't break because of the wind, it broke because of the crash. You still had to be in front of that crash, so you still had to be there, and you still had to then contribute to the craziness.
And that's the thing. Like it's a numbers game, isn't it? Like the more people in front of you, the better chance you have of being involved in a crash. So like you're always trying to be in front of, to a certain point in front of as many riders as you can be, especially in Belgium. And like then that's exactly what happened. And when that crash happened, I made the front. I was in the 60 guys, and at that point I was hoping that the road was blocked for ages. I was like, oh yeah,
I'll never come back.
I'm front group with him. I don't have to fight anymore.
Did you get your Instagram photo, Bills, on the front there with that face?
Nah, I haven't got any. Nah, I haven't got any. I didn't get any gram photos from Ghent-Wevelgem actually. There'll be one out there
those small roads is you got to drop the Euskaltel grenade. What we used to get them in the Vuelta was when Euskaltel Euskadi used to race. Oh,
the carrots.
Now. But they haven't done it for a long time. But like they went through this couple of years where they must have just had really bad bottle cages. And there would just be like full Euskaltel bottles just coming out of bottle cages every time they had a speed bump. And then it would just cause a huge crash. And it just became like the Euskaltel grenades. Like, you just be like, you come in like with all your skin missing you. What happened? Oh, fucking Euskaltel grenade. Oh, no.
Have you ever crashed from hitting a bottle like on the ground?
No, but I crashed Richie Port in Paris-Nice last year because of that. Someone dropped a bottle. It went through my front wheel. I went over the bars but held it up. But as I went over the bars, kind of thing, like was falling off, my bike went back, hit Richie, and just KO'd him.
He would have taken that well.
Yeah, no, he's pretty good about it.
Just a bike incident, George. That's all right, mate.
It's so there's nothing more dangerous to hit than a full drink bottle. I crashed at Tour of Poland in 2020. And luckily it was going uphill, but I was going uphill. We're going up this climb, and the guy in front of me took a bottle and he dropped it. Like grabbed the bottle. We were still going like 30k an hour. He dropped it and just dropped it straight in front of my front wheel, and I just went straight over the handlebars. You can't.
Didn't someone break their collarbone in that crash? Didn't like one of our friends fuck themselves in Tour of Poland uphill like 5k into the race from a bottle?
Don't know.
Can't remember.
No.
Just make a name up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so Flanders on Sunday. We'll do the same as San Remo, Make predictions. What's Pogacar?
Well, should we go actually racing?
Shotgun Pogacar.
Yeah.
Yes.
You reckon he's going to win? I don't reckon he's going to win.
Mate, he'll win whatever he wants to win.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think he'll win. I don't think he'll win Flanders.
You don't think he wants to?
I don't think he wants to win it.
He's just going to pipe him, win solo. And then everyone goes, fuck, cycling's boring.
The problem is today's Dwars Towards Vlaanderen, and this podcast is being released late because I'm not going to be around for the release next week because I'm at Basque Country. So today will be a real litmus test for a lot of these guys. And it's pretty interesting, speaking of Pogacar and these, is like you see a lot of these GC guys, because there's a cobble stages in the Tour this year. All these GC guys are up there riding like, I think Roglic and Vingegaard did like Knocker or one of those races the other day, and they were fucking good. Like, it must be real annoying for like you guys, like the classics guys, just having like these GC guys pissing around, elbows out, coming under everybody.
The thing with the GC guys, like the thing with the top GC guys, Pogacar, Roglic, and those guys, Yatesy, like they're just the best cyclists in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. They're like, okay, you can say they climb better than you, climb better than me, for example, George, because you're 15 kilos lighter. Yeah, of course that makes a difference. But those guys, they're actually just the best bike riders in the world, physically in every single facet. Skills. That's why they win time trials. That's why they win mountain stages. That's why they can do so well in the classics. They're just the best bike riders. But the thing with Flanders, like Dwars of Vlaanderen is a funny race. It's not really hard. It's not.
Oh, isn't it? Is it not a mini Flanders or is that E3?
No, E3 is more of a mini Flanders, and Dwars of Vlaanderen today is like it still does like the hills of Flanders, but it does less of them. It's a shorter race. There's a lot of flat before the climbs. There's a lot of flat after the climb. So it's one of those races that can go either way. Like sometimes someone wins solo, sometimes it's a bunch of 60 guys. So it could
What's the translation for Dwars Doors? Is it like little shit?
Means ride through Flanders, basically, or tour through Flanders.
Those little shit Flanders.
But Flanders,
little shit Flanders.
It's way off.
I don't think Pogacar will win Flanders though, because I think you can't underestimate the knowledge up there. If the people who know Flanders really well are the people that do well in Flanders. That's why there's so many recons. That's why the good classics riders of the past and the good classics riders of now, they study it. They study Flanders. They study those routes. They study those roads, because there's so many twists and turns and the climbs that we do in Flanders, we do like a lot in races, but you do them from all different directions, So you need to know exactly which way you're going into it, what comes next, anticipate the next climb. The knowledge up there, you can't underestimate it. And I think also like on those sorts of climbs, Pogacar is not riding away from Van Aert and stuff. Like, the longest climb in Flanders is 4 minutes. And I think he'll certainly be up there and he'll certainly be having a crack. But I reckon Van Aert's just going to fucking smoke everyone.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Because he's got the team as well. He's got the team. The team makes a difference. Oh, you
reckon, George?
You're in his team.
Pogacar?
Yeah, well,
you
can't.
can't.
You've said him. And I can't say well because you've said him. Oh, jeez.
Van der Poel?
Just because, yeah. Is Evan der Poel riding? Nah.
Nah, he's done.
Oh, is he?
Did you see what Sagan said about him?
Overrated.
Hey?
You see what Sagan said about it the other day?
What did he say?
No.
He said, there's an article about...
Did he say he pissed on him?
Yeah. Sagan said that the difference between him and Evenepoel is that Sagan made himself and Evenepoel's been made by Quickstep or something. I don't know exactly what he meant by that. But
Sagan had heaps of victories and then was a superstar. He's a superstar.
Well, he's a character. He's also a character.
Mm.
And he's also popular because of his character.
Hey, before we wrap up, I noticed you're wearing a Hard Rock t-shirt, Jules. That intrigues me, that merchandise, because when I was a kid, I always wanted a Hard Rock because you didn't travel that much as a kid. So if you went to Los Angeles and you wore it around, people go, "Oh, you've been to fucking Los Angeles." Yeah, that's what the Hard Rock top was. Was that your motivation? So when you go back to New Zealand, they go, "Oh, Andorra." You go, "Yeah, no, live in Andorra."
Now what happened was, it's a Hard Rock Cafe Andorran t-shirt for those who are listening.
And it looks crook.
It's real crook and it's faded. The reason I bought it was because I about two or 3 years ago, I decided to go. I thought I might try and become a hipster. I went through a bit of a hipster phase.
You were wearing those caps for a while, weren't you? The sort of
I I was just trying to be a hipster, and then I realized that I wasn't a hipster. I don't like coffee that much. I like coffee, but I don't have a coffee machine, or I don't make I don't have Jamaican beans or something. I don't like. At the end of the day, I'm a meat and three veg. I'm a meat and three veg guy.
But the hipster wear Hard Rock Cafe shirts. I didn't know that.
Well, it's a little bit hipster, isn't it? I don't know.
No, it's really. I remember my osteo last year was having to go and buy Hard Rock shirts for his daughters because they were what everybody wanted. So I think they're pretty. I think you thought you were being a hipster, but I think you were pretty much staying in your lane.
Just a dick.
Sticking with the mainstream. But speaking of the Hard Rock Cafe, that's not a bad logo, eh? Why don't we just knock that off exactly like that and just put Social Distance Podcast instead of Hard Rock Cafe?
That's it. That's the logo. Tell Caitlin, slap it together.
Actually, well, we get done for a
copyright.
I don't think we're quite big enough to be worrying about copyright issues, eh?
Yeah. And then you can put whatever country you want underneath. We can just do a range of awesome places like
that's
Social
actually not a bad
Podcast, and then you just do Sail. Social Distance Podcast Rotorua.
We can make it like a club. Like you join the Social Distance Podcast Club, and we have them all around the world. So wherever you are, you can have Social Distance Podcast and the Hard Rock Cafe logo,
Custom
and then underneath
shirts.
you have Melbourne or
that's it.
Yeah,
Barcelona or whatever.
Melbourne chapter.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and you have listen parties where you all sit around and have your nacho dips.
Off. All right.
Nah.
I've had enough of this. I'm leaving. The circle jerk's gone on long enough. Let's get out of here.
Okay. See you, mate. Like, share, subscribe.
So who's doing the logo?
Fucking righto. We'll definitely have it next step.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. See you guys.
You can't quit something you haven't started, George.
Yeah.